Welcome to Living Chassidus. Together, let's live the Chassidus we learn.
Welcome to Chassidus in the morning. Kuntres HaTefila in different location for the next week. Okay, so we're going to start from the beginning. I told you yesterday, and just a heads up that let me just check the time. Just a heads up that the beginning part it's what you call like a little slower, meaning in the 10 to 18 that we did, it's very every day there's like powerful messages. Whereas here, it's more of like unpacking an idea, so it takes time. So not necessarily in 15 minutes we can get the whole package, but you'll stick with it and you'll gain a lot. So we'll start on page 24 in the Sefer, which is sort of the introduction from the Rebbe Rashab. And it really, I hope by this point we're like connecting to these ideas and what the Rebbe Rashab is trying to do here. So when you read it, it's like very powerful. Page 24 on the top, Kuntres HaTefila. Since so many members of Anash have been inquiring and seeking how to pray with proper devotion, and in what way to serve God through the service of the heart, this is prayer. So he's saying, since there's a lot of people asking about how to daven, and they don't really know, they want to know what's the Chassidish davening, they don't know. I've decided to expand on the subject based on the writings of our venerable forebears. Their words are those of God, our Lord, established forever, living and pertinent nowadays as in days gone by. So he says, I'm just basically going to reiterate what the Rebbeim before us have said. Only a reminder of their words is necessary and an awakening of the heart of Anash regarding them. So I'm really sort of reminding us of what they said and arousing us. Also, emphasis needs to be given to those matters relevant to addressing the condition of the present times. So one of the things I love about when you learn Chassidus, especially like here, we think that we're the worst people in the worst generation, and like back then, it was so much better. Everyone was much better than us and things like this. But everyone feels that way. Here in their generation, in Kuntres HaTefila from the Rebbe Rashab, one of the things he talks about, because people say that they can't have yiur shamayim anymore. It's not relevant to them anymore. And I feel so much we say it and we think, those people in times of Rashab, they had it. In times of Rashab, they're saying also, we also didn't have it. And the people before us had it. So this is an ongoing yitzhara. So these, the present times in which spiritual sensitivity has diminished, these latter matters too are contained in their holy words. For an abundance of goodness and much illumination are cloaked within them. So within even the issues that we're dealing with right now, this is what the Rebbe Rashab is saying, that the issue that he's dealing with and the people of generation dealing with, saying, in those times before us, the Rebbe, the Mitzvah Rebbe, they didn't have these issues. And he's saying not just because their words from the Mitzvah Rebbe has the answers to these problems as well. For the treasury of their sacred writings, we need only to uncover this goodness to the extent we are able, in order to illuminate and awaken our souls to walk in their light, the light of the fountainhead of true life. Meaning we just need to go, we need to just open it up, learn it, understand it, and see how it relates to us, because it is. When he's saying that, when the Mitzvah Rebbe and the Alter Rebbe and all the Rebbeim were giving over the Chassidus, it was also for us. For their entire aspiration and soulful desire was to enliven and illuminate us with the true light of vitality. Truly, they sacrificed their very lives to this end, as is known to all who are even minimally familiar with their biographies. And as we see all the Rebbeim were put in prison, what for essentially was to help us daven, help us connect to God. And the ultimate way of connecting to God is through davening. And they gave out their lives, literally. You think about what the Rebbeim gave when the Rebbe became Rebbe. He wasn't, so to speak, excited per se. He cried. Why? His life just changed totally. There's a story that a friend of the Rebbe's growing up, he came to visit the Rebbe once the Rebbe was already Rebbe. And so he walked into Yechidus, the Rebbe's like, hey, and he put out his hand. Like, oh, my friend, someone I can be friends with. And so the guy, not wanting to be friends with the Rebbe, wanted to be a chassid of the Rebbe, so he didn't put out his hand. In Chabad, we don't do that. We don't put out your hand. in the Polish circles, you do, but we don't. So the Rebbe looked at him, and the Rebbe said, it's going to be like that. And the guy, I think he nodded, or he just kept silent, because we don't really speak much about the Rebbe, and the Rebbe got it. And like, so the Rebbe didn't have many friends. Same coming Rebbe wasn't like, oh, become, people think become Rebbe, suddenly I'm chashuv and everyone likes me and I'm cool and stuff. It's, you have the world on your shoulders. And the Frierdiker Rebbe, when he was, I think it was like 15 or maybe earlier, maybe it was 12, I think it was 12. The Rebbe Rashab took him to the oil of, maybe it was the Alter Rebbe, Mitzvah Rebbe, I don't remember who the oilim were. And he said, and basically he started saying something and started bursting out crying. And the Frierdiker Rebbe said he didn't really understand what was happening, but he cried as well. He saw how emotional it was getting, he cried. And afterwards, I think the Rashab explained to him, because you're giving yourself over now, like it was like 12. You're giving yourself over for the rest of your life for the needs of the community. That's your life. Meaning he didn't have a personal life. Frierdiker wasn't like, I have my own things I do. It's totally given over. But what they give you over for us to connect to God, for us to daven and to learn how to daven, to learn how to do avodah and work on ourselves, to live these lives that we're meant to be living, And when we're doing, so when we're figuring out how to do it, and we're actually trying to do it, not just we're doing the right thing, we're helping the Rebbeim, which they gave up their lives for. It's beautiful. We need but to cleave to our venerable forebears, just to connect to the Rebbeim, to their holy words, and to become vessels to receive the goodliness, the goodly light within our souls. With their abundance, with their radiance, we shall ascend higher and higher, as God desires the teachings and guidance of his venerable servants of blessed memory. May their mercies protect us. And the Rebbeim should protect us in this endeavor and try to do this and be successful. Okay. So basically in chapter 1, page 26, we're going to talk about he's sort of like saying, we all know what it means to meditate, and he discussed a few quick things. It's a little bit deep. And then in base, he starts explaining that it's not, that really meditating is not learning, it's thinking. And we'll explain it. We will probably get a few days. And it's very interesting, if you pay attention to it, you'll see there's a lot of brackets in him. Okay, the virtue of contemplation, page 26 on the top. Rabbi Shalom Deber directs his words to those who occupy themselves in praying according to the Chabad system, wherein prayer is a time to meditate upon God's greatness as detailed in the Hasidic writings. The Rebbe is critical of inappropriate contemplation and points to the path of correct meditation. So he's talking to people that already do what they're trying to do, and he's basically guiding them the right way versus the incorrect way. My beloved brethren and friends, already you see how he's coming from a place of love and how much he cares about us. Surely you are familiar with, or at least acquainted with, many contemplative themes. These include the matters of Malka Almin, which every intelligent person can thoroughly understand, even using the natural intellect of the animal soul. And in short, this is something you could spend a lifetime learning, the Malka Almin, but he's saying it's even understandable to our Nefesh Bahamas. Malka Almin is simply that the world is filled with godliness, that the world exists from godliness. It's like the soul of a person, the soul within our body, that the soul is within our body, and that's what keeps us alive. And that's the Malka Almin. The whole world that we see around us that's alive, everything has a neshama, so to speak, not so to speak, has a neshama. And we all have that. And that's what he says. And he says everyone understands this, or if we don't, we can learn it. And he's saying we can learn it and we can understand it to the extent that even not just our godly soul can understand, but even our animalistic soul can understand, which every intelligent person can thoroughly understand, even using the natural intellect of his animal soul. The concept of Sevek Almin and those levels that are beyond Sevek Almin are also comprehensible, and also understanding Sevek Almin, how God is above all of it, and when he gives, it gives in a level like when the godliness that comes from lower Sevek Almin, it comes equally to everything. It's like a teacher teaching a subject, not catering it to specific students. So to speak, like the sun just rays, doesn't tailor itself to specific people. And again, there's a lot of chassidus to be learned on that. The concept of Sevek Almin and those levels beyond Sevek Almin are also comprehensible, and we can understand these levels and can come to a comprehendibly settled state in the godly soul's intellective faculties of Chachma bin Das, and we can understand it to the extent We can think about the idea, the chachma, the bina. We can understand. This is the first shiur. Funny, we're going in the first shiur that we did to the beginning of the book, talking about das again, and that's what a lot of what we're going to talk about is understanding the concept, not just at an intellectual level, but das, by connecting with them. Yeah, that and all these levels, even above seder shtashus, even above sefer kolmin, we can understand. Contemplative subjects, compromise. Also, the meditation associated with the first and second verse of Kriya Shema that we can meditate on. Likewise, the particular concepts related to evoking particular emotions, whether it be reflective that arouse a person to love of God, or reflection that arouse a person to awe of Him, whether it's emotions, we can learn certain subjects that bring us to emotions. The last 10 chapters of Tanya, well, 40, I think it's from 41 to 51, if not mistaken, those chapters, different things to meditate on. And if you read it in that way, you'll see it's like things that the Alter Rebbe is telling you, which arouses love and fear of God, that we can learn and really understand, like the concept related to particular emotions, of fear, or of Him. Also pertinent here is the matter of Tiferes, gazing the King of Glory. Tiferes' beauty is taking two opposites, so to speak, like us, physical, with spirituality and confusing the two. These different types of things that we can do. So now we're going to do it in brackets. Gazing at the King's Glory, page 28. Indeed, any thorough and genuine meditation on the particular aspects of any godly concept, so any meditation do on any godly idea, especially regarding His greatness and loftiness and the wondrous qualities of His blessed infinite light, and especially if you're thinking about how great God is and how lofty He is and the levels of His infinite light, can be considered to be gazing at the King's glory, i.e., that one's godly intellect gazes, meaning like looks at and sees, like really, at the preciousness and the excellence of the divine light, and at the precious beauty of His greatness and exaltedness. And that's what we can see and look at and really realize. Then all one's senses are nullified by virtue of this gazing. So when you get to that level of gazing, you feel it, and you connect with it, and everything else becomes nullified, resulting in the loss of self-awareness. You're not thinking about yourself so much. Through such gazing, a person experiences great delight. And when you see it, when you gaze at, meaning you understand godliness and these other concepts we're talking about, it's more specifically about how great God is and how nice He is and lofty and His infinite light. And when you connect with that concept to the level of gazing, meaning you can really see it, not physically necessarily, but like you see it, meaning you understand it, you're connected to it. So that makes you automatically stop thinking about yourself. It's like, oh, it's too hot in here. Oh, I'm hungry. Oh, this person's annoying me. All those issues sort of go away. This is the pleasantness, sweetness, and delight that the soul senses when taking pleasure in godliness. And this is what the soul gets, that he stops thinking about the physicality and is totally involved in spirituality, not thinking about ourselves in the sense of ourselves and our petty issues, but it's totally consumed with godliness. As it is written, then shall you delight in God. Meaning then when you have that gaze, then you can delight in God, because you're not sort of focused on physicality. However, this is a type of pleasantness and delight in an inward and essential one. Meaning this is very deep, refined. It's not very external. A person's whole essence is nullified by this delight, to the point that actual exploration of the soul is possible. And this is kol nefesh, what we talk about, is when the neshama wants to leave the body, because it's so connected to godliness. And this is a very high level. But he's saying this is the idea of gazing,